make us believe that those solutions are useless.
Talking to media men and women, they expatiated on the differences between natural medicine and chemical drugs.
With allopathic medicine, what you use is synthetic molecules. And the synthetic molecules have never cured a disease. They only manage the symptoms. They've never eliminated the cause of the disease. They will take care of the symptoms, but you will still be sick.
Given the state of things as to why the government has not taken side with them, these traditional practitioners indicated that it is above the government.
I believe that there's some international pressure going on here. If you do a little bit of research, you'll find out that an organization like the International Monetary Fund is putting pressure on some countries. They have nothing to do with the pandemic. This is not something that has something to do with macroeconomics or debt or stuff like that. Why is it that they're telling countries to accept vaccine in order for them to have some facilitation in their debt, the national debt? It doesn't make any sense.
The message they had was to encourage Cameroonians to adopt the culture of consuming the natural African herbs that as of now stands as the true treatment for COVID-19. Besides this, they paid tribute to one of theirs, Dr. Dewa, who was behind the effort to promote traditional medicines in Cameroon, giving it the status it now enjoys.
COVID-19 vaccination campaign is following through across all regions of Cameroon. In the north region of the country, the vaccination exercise was launched yesterday in the town of Garoua. This was in a ceremony presided at by the Secretary General at the Regional Governor's Office. Although himself he didn't take the vaccine, he however encouraged the populations to go in for vaccination and equally continue to respect COVID-19 barrier measures. We have details of this story with Joy Ngong.
After the center, littoral, west, southwest and east regions, the north region is next in line for the COVID vaccination campaign. While presiding over the launching ceremony yesterday, the Secretary General of the North Regional Governor's Office encouraged the population of the region to get vaccinated and continue respecting the barrier measures. Curiously, the Secretary General was not himself ready to get vaccinated. The first vaccines were administered to the health personnel and some volunteers. The regional delegate of public health for the North region equally urged medical personnel to massively adhere to the vaccination campaign as they are more exposed to contamination.
Nous avons dans la région 18 postes de vaccination qui ont été recensés actuellement.
We have 18 vaccination posts here in the North region. Health workers who are most exposed are in the front line for the vaccination. Also, priority will be given to people above 50 years with known illnesses. We are calling on all of them to come and get vaccinated.
For those who received the first dose of the Sinopharm vaccine, the second dose will be administered in 3 weeks for better efficiency. The North region received a total of 15,240 doses of the Chinese vaccine. The major targets for this phase of the vaccination are health personnel, citizens above 50, as well as volunteers.
Still on COVID-19 vaccination, the town of Nkongsamba, that is in the Mungo division of the littoral region, has received 900 doses of the Sinopharm vaccine against coronavirus. Dr. Bekolo Epie Kelvin, who is head of the health district, launched the vaccination exercise in a ceremony at the Nkongsamba General Hospital. Details of the story with Joy Ngong once again.
The town of Nkongsamba has benefited from the COVID-19 vaccination campaign with a total of 900 doses of the Sinopharm vaccine available at the health district. The vaccination campaign was launched on Thursday, April 15th at the Nkongsamba Regional Hospital. According to a release by the Chief of Center of the Nkongsamba Health District, priority for vaccination is given to health personnel, persons with chronic illnesses, persons above 50, and administrative authorities. The Chief of Center spearheaded the vaccination process, followed by the medical staff.
The vaccination is already effective in our health districts. The first 200 doses have already been administered. These doses were mostly administered to health personnel and the old people.
He equally reminded the population on the importance of vaccination.
As you know, vaccination was an initiative of public health and has helped to curb the spread of several diseases in the world. I know there are some people against vaccination, but it is the most recommended solution at the moment.
2,540 COVID-19 tests have already been carried out in Kongsamba so far, with a total of 325 positive cases against 4 deaths. Dr. Bekolo Calvin calls on the population to get vaccinated and continue to strictly respect the barrier measures.
Away with vaccination, but still in line with COVID-19, stakeholders of the Center region, that is in education, have been evaluating the level of effectiveness of the distance learning policy, which was instituted 1 year ago after the outbreak of the coronavirus in Cameroon. This is through a workshop to analyze the difficulties and equally propose solutions to facilitate the teaching and learning process. That is, this story is detailed in the following with Ate Bonaventure.
Multiple field evaluation reports have shown that the distance education policy initiated by the Minister of Secondary Education at the beginning of the COVID-19 is not being implemented to the letter in the Central region.
We have taken advantage of this also to try to make sure that the teachers have an interactive session with the students so that there is nothing lost. And so these students, even though they are not touching their teachers, they are not feeling their teachers, but they are learning and they are interacting with their teachers, asking their questions, and their questions being answered.
This workshop, that is chaired by the Central Regional Delegate for Secondary Education, seeks to look at the setbacks and provide an enabling ground for the integration of the e-learning modalities in classroom practices.
With the problem of COVID, we are having issues with full class sizes that are overly crowded, and so we want to be able to respect the distancing measures and at the same time have a full class time.
Themes under discussion include distance education as an opportunity for teaching and learning process in the era of COVID-19 and adequate implementation tools for the Central region.
Back to the Mungo Division, the Divisional Subcommittee for the Monitoring of Public Investment Budget for 2021 have held their first ordinary session for the first quarter of 2021. That was on Thursday, with major points of focus being electricity problems as well as the slow rate of execution of the projects in place. Once more, we have Joy Ngong give us details of this.
The physical execution rate of the Public Investment Budget 2021 in the Mungo Division for the first quarter of the year is at 0.85% as opposed to 0.27% during the same period last year. Meanwhile, financial execution is at 0.19% against 0% in 2020. Despite the rise in the level of project execution, the report of the session of Technical Subcommittee for Monitoring the Physical and Financial Execution of Public Investment Budget 2021 for the Mungo Division, which started on April 13th, was made public on April 15, 2021. During a plenary session at the conference hall of the Kongsamba 1 subdivision, the committee cited a number of challenges, among which was a refusal to officially account for certain projects like electricity in some rural areas by the authorities of INEO.
Les projets sont exécutés sur le terrain, mais ne sont pas raccordés.
The projects are being carried out on the field, but they are not accounted for. we related this information to hierarchy, and the Minister of Water and Energy reacted by asking the director of ENEO to monitor these projects.
Besides the delay in contractualizing projects according to programming and the slow rate of project execution, the problem of the delay in the execution of projects is inevitable in the Mongo division. The divisional authorities tasked the committee members to do their survey in a proactive manner with the assistance of municipal authorities.
On a sad note, Cameroon has just lost one of her greatest intellectual minds, that is to the cold hands of death. The death of eminent senior lecturer of information and communication, Professor Michel Djadé Eone, has been announced. The senior lecturer at the Advanced School of Mass Communication, ASMAC, died this April 16 at the age of 71 after he suffered a heart attack. Professor Michel Djadé equally served as former Deputy Director of ASMAC, lecturer as well as lecturer of communication at the University of Douala. The doctor in communication equally served as editor-in-chief of Radio Cameroon. He is the author of several books which are part of the legacy he leaves behind. That obituary brought us to the end of news within the Cameroonian borders, and now we move on to news out of Cameroon. In Mali, Lieutenant Colonel and Minister of Territorial Administration has announced that presidential and legislative elections in the country would take place from February 2022. That is the first round. And out of the African continent, we have in the United States, President Donald Trump has poured sanctions on Russia for its alleged involvement in last presidential elections in the United States of America. Rogeatu Buba tells us more.
Mali's transitional government has announced presidential and legislative elections will take place next February. The Lieutenant Colonel Abdoulaye Maïga and the Minister of Territorial Administration declared on Thursday the first round of voting will take place on February 27, 2022, and a second round will follow in March. The announcement of the dates, according to the government, is a sign of its commitment to strictly uphold a pledge of an 18-month transition for returning to an elected civilian government. Mali was plunged into a political chaos after the ousting of Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta in a military coup last year, August. Maïga said a referendum on a long-promised overhaul of the constitution will take place on October 31, 2021, with the local and regional elections scheduled to take place on December 6. The Biden administration on Thursday announced the removal of 10 Russian diplomats and sanctions against nearly 3,000 people for interference in last year's presidential election. The actions, foreshadowed for weeks by the administration, represent the first retaliatory measures announced. United States officials last month alleged that the Russian president authorized influence operations to help Donald Trump in his unsuccessful bid for re-election as president. The measures announced on Thursday include sanctions on 6 Russian companies that support the country's cyber activities, in addition to sanctions on 32 individuals and entities accused of attempting to interfere in the presidential elections. According to the White House, the 10 diplomats being expelled include representatives of Russian intelligence services. The planned actions represent the second major round of sanctions imposed by the Biden administration against Russia.
That marks the end of this edition of the news, which was the last for this week on DBS television. But we shall see you again on Monday when we return for a fresh week and fresh editions. Until then, goodbye and have a great weekend on DBS television. Good night.